The Viridian warship hung in the void like a cathedral of death, its obsidian hull drinking in the starlight. For 347 standard cycles, it had maintained position at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, waiting. The crew had long since questioned their commander's sanity, but Commander Thelax remained unmoved, his four eyes fixed on the scanning displays. "Still nothing, Commander," reported his second-in-office, Kira Vol, her mandibles clicking with barely concealed frustration. "The human vessel has not returned. Perhaps we should accept that Captain Marcus Chen is not coming back." Thelax's tail coiled tighter around his command throne. "We wait." The other bridge officers exchanged glances. 347 cycles, nearly a full rotation around their home star. The Viridian Empire had protocols, procedures, timelines. No single enemy combatant warranted this level of attention, especially not one who had already been defeated. But Marcus Chen had been no ordinary enemy. The Battle of the Kelran Nebula had been meant as a demonstration, a show of Viridian superiority over the upstart human species who dared to expand into what the Empire considered its rightful territory. Thelax had commanded a fleet of 12 warships against a single human frigate, the USCS Defiance. The mathematics had been simple. Overwhelming force, swift victory, a message sent to Earth. But Marcus Chen had not read the same calculations. For 6 hours, that single frigate had danced through their formation like a ghost. Chen had used every asteroid, every radiation plume, every gravitational eddy as both weapon and shield. He'd fired missiles on trajectories that made no sense until they suddenly did, detonating at precisely calculated moments to create chain reactions of destruction. He'd broadcast false signals, vented atmosphere to mimic critical damage, even allowed his shields to collapse in what appeared to be fatal mistakes, only to reveal them as elaborate traps. When the battle ended, 11 Viridian warships lay dead in space. Only Thelax's flagship remained, crippled and powerless, its crew dependent on emergency life support. The Defiance had been in no better shape, bleeding atmosphere and energy, its engines dark. That was when Thelax had seen him. Through the static-filled viewscreen, Marcus Chen's face had appeared, human, with their peculiar bilateral symmetry and unsettling forward-facing eyes. But it was not his appearance that Thelax remembered. It was what he said. "Commander Thelax," Chen had spoken in perfect Viridian, his voice calm despite the alarms screaming in the background of his dying ship. "I'm transmitting coordinates for emergency supplies and repair nanites. They'll reach you in 40 minutes. Should be enough to get your life support stable and engines running at 20%. Thelax had been too stunned to respond immediately. "Why?" he'd finally asked. Chen had smiled, a strange human expression that showed teeth. "Because you'll remember this day. You'll remember that a human spared you when they didn't have to, and maybe, just maybe, when you sit in comfortable meetings discussing whether to wage war on my species, you'll think twice." He'd paused, also because it's the right thing to do. "Your ship is dying," Thelax had observed, changing the subject from his own uncomfortable gratitude. "Yeah," Chen had acknowledged. "The Defiance is done, but I've got an escape pod and a dream." He'd grinned wider. "I'm going to find a planet out here, maybe settle down. Garden, read books, learn to cook something other than ration paste. Maybe in 50 years someone will stumble across me and I'll have the best damn tomatoes in this sector. If you survive." "If I survive," Chen had agreed, "but humans are good at that. It's kind of our thing." The transmission had ended. True to his word, Chen's supply pod had arrived, saving Thelax and his crew. And true to his word, Chen had piloted his escape pod into the vast uncertainty of space, toward the uncharted worlds of the Kepler 442 system. That had been 347 cycles ago. The Viridian High Command had ordered Thelax back to Imperial space for debriefing and reassignment. He had refused. They had sent retrieval ships. He had sent them away. They had eventually stopped trying, writing off both him and his ship as acceptable losses, madness brought on by the trauma of defeat. But Thelax knew he wasn't mad. He was keeping a promise he'd never explicitly made. "Contact!" Kira Vol suddenly shouted, her voice sharp with disbelief. "Single vessel human design emerging from Kepler 442b orbit." Every sensor locked onto the approaching ship. It was small, cobbled together from salvage and improvisation, held together more by audacity than engineering. But it flew with confidence, its trajectory precise and unhesitant. "Open a channel," Thelax commanded, rising from his throne for the first time in months. The view screen flickered to life. Marcus Chen appeared noticeably older, his hair streaked with gray, his face lined with the comfortable wrinkles of a man who'd spent years smiling. "Commander Thelax," Chen said, genuine warmth in his voice. "You waited. I gave you my life," Thelax replied simply. "It seemed appropriate to see if you had managed to keep yours." Chen laughed, that peculiar human sound of joy. 53 years, Commander. I've got a homestead on 442B. Tomatoes, like I said, and potatoes, corn, even managed to get coffee growing. Water's good, air's breathable, and the sunsets would make you weep." "You are leaving?" "Time to go home," Chen said. "See if Earth still remembers me. But I wanted to say thank you for the vigil. It meant more than you know." Thelax felt something unfamiliar in his chest, an emotion his species rarely acknowledged. Respect, perhaps. Or friendship. "Your species is dangerous, Marcus Chen." "Yeah," Chen agreed. "But we're also loyal. We remember kindness, and we always come back." He paused. "Tell your empire that. Tell them humans don't forget their debts or their friends." The channel closed. The small ship began accelerating toward Sol, toward home, toward Earth. Thelax watched it go, then finally gave the order his crew had waited 347 cycles to hear. "Set course for Viridian Prime. We have a report to deliver." As his ship turned toward home, Thelax understood something that few in the Empire had grasped. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their cunning or their resilience. It was simpler and far more terrifying than that. They kept their promises, every single one. And in a galaxy built on conquest and expedience, that made them the most dangerous species of all.